Okay, this is going to be a tutorial on how to build the new fusion reactors from ReactorCraft because they are extremely complicated and I suspect no one's going to figure it out on their own. So it's going to be a guide of where I build each part individually. We're going to integrate it together into a functional reactor and then activate it at the very end. We're going to do this piece by piece because of how big it is, but we're going to start with the actual torus of the tokamak itself because it's usually a good place to start. So the toroidal magnets, which I've got here, do need to be placed in a certain pattern. They can't be placed custom like a normal fission reactor can be. The pattern's an easy one to replicate, but basically what you need to do is approximate a circle. And the way I've chosen to do that is with the pattern I'm laying out in these wool blocks here. Each white wool block is going to have a toroidal magnet on top of it. The red wool blocks are going to be the injection points for the fusion plasma. So I hope I'm measuring this out correctly. Oops, no, that's already wrong. Measure that up, make sure it lines up, and it does. Should try to check the red one here too, and it does. Okay, so we're actually doing this correctly this time around, which is good. Yeah, I took a previous take and screwed it up. Anyways, we're almost done. And okay, there we go. There's the completed pattern. So we're going to need, I don't actually know how many wool blocks that is, we're going to need a whole lot of toroidal magnets. It's really simple, just place them all down at first. Don't worry about how they're intersecting the ground. That doesn't actually impede their functionality, although I do recommend clearing it out later. Or what I'll probably end up doing is making it so you can't place them unless there's space, although that would get in the way of being able to place markers. Alright, so we've got, that's how many toroidal magnets we're going to need, and of course they can't all be facing this way. We've got to point them at the center of the ring, or center of the torus. So you can see after you use a screwdriver, you can see the magnetic field it uses and the momentum it imparts onto the fusion plasma that'll go through it. It's that blue arrow there. I'll show you again that. So what you want is basically all of those arrows pointing towards the center of the circle. So these two are already good. This one, you're going to bend one over, and then 2, and then 3, 4, and repeat the pattern. And once again, it's 8. You should be turning it 8 times by the time you've reached 90 degrees around the torus. That's obviously wrong. Yeah, shift right click will reverse the direction you're turning it, which is easy, or rather convenient when you've turned it too much. You can also use, compare the two. Make sure you've just turned it one further, which is actually what I'm doing now because it's easier than trying to keep count. And that's parallel, and one more. And one more parallel. One more than parallel, and now these have to be turned exactly 180 degrees. And if you don't get these right, it will not work correctly. It might work a little bit, but it certainly won't work at full efficiency, and if you screw it up badly enough, you will have the plasma leaking everywhere, which won't explode, but it will start setting things on fire and killing animals and whatnot, because, well, fusion plasma is 150 million degrees. Anyways, we're almost done now. This is probably the most tedious part of actually building the reactor, lining all these magnets up. Actually, at this point, it's probably faster to go in reverse the whole time, isn't it? Oops. I've already overdone it. Okay. There we go. Let's just double check, make sure every single one is placed correctly. I mean, we are on creative, so it's not that bad if we screw up, but looks good. Don't see any errors. I mean, it'll become apparent when we turn it on. Anyways, okay, so that's the actual part of the tokamak itself. I am going to end up clearing all this stuff out, so just be right back. Alright, with the magic of a little bit of a code edit, these things are now, they don't have all that grass and dirt in the way, although the wool block's still there, so let's get rid of those. Oops, I should not have broken that one, should I? And I am going to work on making these collide. Unfortunately, Minecraft doesn't really like bounding boxes, like collision boxes, which are bigger than an actual block. This highlight box was easy to do, but actual blocks, it doesn't even test the collision box unless you're in that coordinate. Alright, so here's the core of the torus. Next up, I think we'll build the solenoid, which is basically that big central spinning magnet. This is a multi-block structure, so just clear the inventory. We're going to need several pieces of solenoid. Central permanent magnet, ferromagnetic base, magnetic linkage, auxiliary permanent magnet, hysteresis rod, and solenoid hub. And we're also going to need a machine, solenoid magnet machine. So we'll put that in the very center first. Alright. And then we make sure I've got the placement on this correct. Yes, I do. Clear a little space under existing does receive shaft power, so we'll do that later. Probably shouldn't have got rid of that world edit one, but oh well. Okay, so we'll place the core of the hub. Yeah, I know the lighting doesn't quite match, but that's okay. Okay, and then we need... Don't remember exactly how big this has to be. I believe it's 5 blocks on every side. And it's 3 on the diagonals, if I remember correctly. It's basically tracing another circle, but we'll see. If I do it wrong, I do it wrong. It's easy to fix. Okay, so we need central permanent magnet, which makes up the 5 on each piece. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And yes, it has to be symmetrical. And we use auxiliary permanent magnets for 1 on each end, and then... And I think I've done it wrong. Because there's supposed to be an isolated piece as well. By 1 more on all sides. Alright. I didn't extend that one, did I? 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't extend. There we go. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Extension piece. Extension piece. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Extension piece. Alright. This looks like it's going to work. And yeah, that's correct. Okay, so I know the textures in the central and auxiliary, so it's the same, but it's basically just the central makes up the center 5 on each main spoke, and the auxiliaries make the rest of the circle. Anyway, so we're going to finish building this now. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the pattern is kind of similar to where we laid out the toroidal magnets themselves. Okay, and then we have... Did I put a... No, I didn't. There. It's easy to mess up, though. Let's go night. Let's fix that. Piece on each... Oh, that one already has it. 2, and... Okay. And that's correct. Okay, so then we just... take a ring out around this. We're going to need to replicate that ring pattern with the pieces of... different kinds of pieces above and below. Following the same sort of pattern though, 5 central of a different kind than the So for the main pieces, we're going to need ferromagnetic base, and it's 5 on each end, like before, above and below. So this thing's going to be a total of 3 blocks tall. If I could click correctly, that would be nice. Alright, and then everything else is magnetic linkages. And the multi-block will automatically know when you've completed it correctly. So if everything all changes into an actual proper 3D render, that means we did it right. If it doesn't, we didn't. And let's see. Just a little bit more. This is going to be your main use for all that magnetite you've been mining up with ReactorCraft. A lot of people have been saying, well, this doesn't have any use, why is it there? Well, here's why it's there. And there we go. Okay, so it works. I'm going to clear up some of that grass because it's intersecting the model, but that's okay. And there we go. So the solenoid is actually in place now. A little side trick just for in case you're interested. All these blocks are still here. They're just invisible now. They make up a sort of hitbox because normally, the hitbox of this thing would be restricted to a 1 block. Anyways, that's there. We'll give it power now just to save it later. It's not like it's going to matter. We're in creative. Let's clear out inventory again. We're going to use the industrial coil creative mode version. We're going to need some shafts. Bedrock. Don't think you need bedrock shafts, but might as well use them. Magenta to blue. Couple of shafts, point those the right way. There we go. Turn that on. If you spin this too fast, it will violently fail on you. So I'm only going to spin it at, I believe you only need 512 radians a second. I don't remember that offhand. You need a crap ton of torque though. Okay, that's either not enough torque or, yeah, it wasn't enough torque. Okay. You don't actually need 65536. You probably need like 16,000 or 32,000 or something. Anyway, so that's going, and we're going to get rid of these grass blocks now because they're irritating me. Fortunately, it only intersects like 4 on each corner, so that's good. Not really a big cleanup job. Alright, there we go. But it would make you dizzy if you stared at it too long. Anyways, what we'll go on to next is the actual injector multi-blocks. Those are the 4 big units you see on each straight piece of the completed reactor. That's, of course, what you pipe the fusion plasma into and what actually injects it into the ring. They're a little bit more complicated than this multi-block to build, but it's actually not that bad. Anyway, so we're going to need all the pieces for that. These are the plasma injector pieces. So base and injector lower corner, and side panel, and injector top, upper corner, induction coil, column piece, and hysteresis core. Alright, so what you're going to want is, so this is the base again. Oh, you're also going to need 2 other things. You're going to need magnetic containment pipes, which, what the hell? 1, 3, what happened to number 2? Just delete itself from our inventory? Alright. And we run out of inventory space. We'll get to the other part later. Actually, what we'll do is lay the containment pipes first. Doesn't really matter how far you lay them. That's more than enough. But what we also need is the fusion plasma injector block itself. So that points in the direction opposite where you want the plasma to go. So if I point it face this way while placing it down, you see the holes here, so the plasma is going to go out this way and go counterclockwise around the ring. It doesn't really matter which direction it goes, although it's usually a good idea to make it consistent on all 4 injectors. You also don't need all 4 injectors, but of course that boosts the efficiency a lot. So anyways, we're going to take away this piece of wool now. We need injector base along the bottom. 5 plus several more, I don't remember offhand. we're going to measure that out as we see fit. As we need lower corners for, well, the lower corners. So build it along here. Oops. It doesn't matter which way you're facing when you place these blocks down. They don't care about that. Their metadata are determined based on, well, the items you're placing them down with. Alright, the corner pieces, which are, or column pieces rather, which are a good measurement of various heights, which is kind of what I'm using to as the guideline here. Let's see. Top, I know that's supposed to be a top of top of 2 by 2 by 5. So that I did build it correctly. That's nice. Okay. So yeah, that's the pattern in which you have to put the top pieces. So 5 long, 2 long, and 2 long, dropping it by a step each time. Then what we're going to want is the upper corner pieces. So that's just on either side of the top pieces all the way along, including here. Alright. The hysteresis core basically just goes in the middle, so it's like a filler. And okay. And the side panels, well, fill in the sides. Don't cover up the hole, obviously where the plasma's got to come through, so just leave a square like that. And then we're going to do it on the other side. Again, making sure not to cover the hole. And finally, put in the induction coils. These pieces have to go in last. They're the only ones which the multi-block will be able to be completed with. And there we go. We know it's complete because this gold wiring's appeared on it, so it's actually properly built. Figure this out, so you better look at it. Alright. And if you break any of these pieces, the entire multi-block will decompose, much like this one will as well, and I'll just show you that. Just pick a block to get a piece of fragmented base. We take it away and say it stops being a model and turns back into a collection of blocks, put it back together and it works again. And yes, if it's not a full model, or if this one fails or if this one fails, these things will stop working. The solenoid magnet is indeed critical for the toroidal magnets to work. They don't work on their own. Anyway, so we have the actual core of the reactor itself now. So what we're going to start doing is building the part that absorbs the neutrons, because when fusion happens, which basically you get enough plasma in here, it starts to undergo fusion, it gives off neutrons, which carry away the energy. So what you want to do is you want to capture those neutrons. So what you do is you basically build a bunch of neutron absorbers, which will heat up as they absorb neutrons. You can build them in any shape you want. I'm just going to build a big square because it's easier. Don't think that's the most efficient design, and it's certainly not the most appealing design, or the most space efficient for that matter. But it works just fine. Neutrons will not interact with the toroidal magnets or with the solenoid, so you don't have to worry about that. They'll just go right through it. Okay, put these over here, all the way around. Neutron absorbers aren't exactly expensive. They're one block of concrete and some steel. Like a lot of the stuff here, it's mostly just steel and wool and gold and glass and some other stuff. Obsidian glass. You're going to need a ReactorCraft pulse jet furnace. Oh wait, we haven't quite finished the core. I just realized we've forgotten one thing. I'll build that in a second, right after I finish laying these neutron absorbers. Alright, there we go. So the neutron absorbers there, we'll get back to that in a second. But first, I've forgotten, is, well, these toroidal magnets, as you can probably tell by looking at them, are electromagnets. They're not permanent magnets like this thing. So what that means is they need, well, an electrical current to work. And the way you do this, since it doesn't have actual electricity, is you use a Van de Graaff, which is actually why I added them. Let's make this a little bit lower. Okay, so we're going to want another industrial coil, creative mode. We want a Van de Graaff generator, and we're going to want a bevel gear. Might want a shaft if I built this wrong. Screwdriver will be nice too. And it's going night again. Let's fix that. Whatever. Okay. Anyways, so what you do, you actually build the Van de Graaff a little bit below the toroidal magnet, and you'll actually see it work. I believe this is in the correct place. Yeah, I'm almost certain it's in the correct place. Now, it doesn't really matter how much power you give it. Well, it does, but once you hit the minimum, though, it doesn't really matter above that. We'll just give it as much as the jet engine. And you can see it's actually transferring the charge between the magnets now. That's what those lightning bolts are. It's not actually jumping across the gap here because it's too big. There's no injector for with it to jump across. So what I'm actually going to do is give it that injector so it can jump across that gap. Injector is gold, so it's, well, conducts. These injectors won't function in terms of like injecting plasma, but they will conduct the charge around the torus. You can see current's going almost all around. There is an injector in there, so that's working. And black bolts carry the least charge, so clearly the charge is still building up there, and it's like it gradually drops off as it goes around the ring. So a good idea would probably put one on the other side. Just, again, if we lose this charge, it will cease to work. And okay, put another yellow that time. Coil, jet engine's worth of power. Yeah, it takes a lot of power to start up a tokamak and get it and keep it running, but, well, that's not abnormal. That's why they're not quite viable in the real world yet. They consume more power than they put out. But anyways, we've now got charges being transferred all over the reactor except for over here. Now those are starting to change color, so that's a good sign. Just to be safe, though, we'll put one more Van de Graaff, this time under here. That's actually too low, so it's from, let's go from yellow again. There, 65536, 1024, lever, Van de Graaff. Okay, there we go. And the charge is not actually jumping. So clearly the problem then is with the placement or rotation of this magnet. Oh no, it's not the rotation. It's the placement? I hope it's not the placement. It's kind of hard to tell. Let's put down, I don't know, fluoride block bullet so we can see it. That's where the actual magnet pile entity is. Same for that one. That's correct. I don't know why it's not jumping the gap. That's a little bit concerning, so we'll just put another Van de Graaff down here. I mean, if this was a survivor world, I'd never let it just, we'll see if this works, because the potential for damage is just too high. But for a creative world, who really cares? 6, 1024. Okay, that's transferring between those fine. And it seems to be jumping the gap here. So it looks like they all have charged now, so anyways, we'll continue. We're going to leave it at just this one injector. But anyway, so we now actually need to generate the fusion pod. Actually, no, we need to finish building the actual nuclear part of it. So we've got neutron absorbers, which will absorb all the neutrons and will heat up. So what we need to do is now, well, use that heat to make something useful, and do that the same way you do any other reactor and ReactorCraft. So we'll need steam boilers, we'll need steam lines, we're going to need water supply, so we're going to just ReactorCraft pipes and reservoirs. I'm also going to use these because I'm going to put some reservoirs in creative mode and basically have an infinite supply of water. Oops, what am I doing? So just lay the pipes out all the way around. Actually, what I can do is probably easier. World edit tool. Can't use it to world edit in the pipes, but you can certainly use it to world edit out the grass. Gotta be a little bit careful around this thing though, because we don't want to break that. Okay, so we'll have to go around here then, which is fine. So we'll just do that then. Lay the pipes like that. You don't have to worry about these two pipes interacting, they won't. And just lay all this pipe. Now you don't have to use RotorCraft pipes at all. I am using them because I don't have any other mod installed, because it's actually in my development environment. But RotoCraft pipes do have the highest potential throughput if you've got the water supply to keep up with it, and that's kind of useful for the number of boilers you're going to end up needing for this. This thing generates a ludicrous amount of heat, so you're going to need a lot of boilers, and that means a lot of water. So we'll just put some reservoirs down here, put in creative mode so it's always full. Alright. That's not going to be anywhere near enough, but it's going to be a start. I'm going to put steam boilers all the way around the outside now. These will absorb the heat from the absorbers. The laws of thermal conduction do apply. I don't know if you really need those corner pieces, but oh well. It's not going to harm anything. Alright, oh, wait, no. Alright, so we've now got a ton of boilers. Strange, the frame rate improves when you back away from them a little bit, which is weird considering there's now more stuff rendering. But anyway, what we're going to want to do now is hook up steam lines across the top of everything. I know I'm going to need to put more reservoirs around because the water is not going to make it to the further reservoirs, but we'll do that in a minute. Go over the top to get the steam line across. And again, you can build these absorbers and boilers in any pattern you want, but keep in mind if you don't absorb neutrons, they go off and hit whatever, they can do some damage, irradiate the land, poison things. Plus, well, you're just wasting energy. This fusion reactor is not cheap, so you don't really want to be wasting some of the would-be heat. Alright, we're going to put in more water supply now. Some reservoirs over there. Just kind of doing this at random. It probably isn't a clean, good way to do this. Doesn't really matter, put one on the end here though. Yeah, how fast those are dropping off when I first place them down suggests there is a severe deficiency of water here. Well, there's no water at all in this pipe, so that's kind of concerning. Now this thing won't overheat like a fission reactor will, so you don't have to worry about that. Just, stops being efficient. There is a maximum temperature these absorbers can take, of course, where they melt, but that's over 1,000 degrees. It's not really a risk if you've got at all an intelligent design. Not quite sure how you'd supply this much water without using like 100,000, well not 100,000, but a whole lot of aqueous accumulators, but, well, that's up for you to figure out. Oh, but you can do it. RotoCraft got some high power water generation techniques as well. Alright, so that's hopefully sufficient water. Looks reasonably even too. Anyways, so what we've got now, what we're going to want to do now is actually generate the fusion plasma, which is going to come in this containment pipe. Also, a thing we're actually going to tend to before we build that. Well, magnetic containment pipe is, as you might imagine, well, magnetic, and gold means it's electromagnetic, so we're going to need another Van de Graaff. So let's just build that. Because otherwise, the fusion plasma is going to come in contact with the walls of the pipe and melt right through it. So, don't want that to happen. Van de Graaff here. It looks like it's going night again. Orange to blue. Alright, so we're now charging the pipe. And charge distributes itself among the pipes, so you don't have to worry about putting one for every single pipe block. That would be dumb. Anyways, it doesn't really matter how far you pipe the plasma. It doesn't really have any losses, although doing it stupid far would just be expensive. Notice the frame rate's starting to drop a little bit, probably because we've got a lot of rendering going on. Anyways, yeah, because I look away and the frame rate's better again, so might as well just look this way then. So we're going to build some hydrogen preheaters now, which actually generate the fusion plasma. So we're going to need the pieces for that. It's another multi-block. Laser concentration lens, thermal insulation core, preheater unit housing corners, edges, and faces. And we're going to need more magnetic containment pipes on glass blocks, so that's nice to have too. So we'll build one for now. You can always have as many as you want, but of course that means more power to run them, because they do take a lot of power. That, of course, means more hydrogen going in. Does mean you can, well, generate more plasma in there, and more plasma means more power. So anyways, you want basically a 5x5 grid with the corners. It's kind of like building an applied energistics auto crafting system, which is in fact what inspired it. So corner, edge, face, 3 up, in the right place would be nice. Corner, 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 and it's not actually perfectly cubical, and it's not solid on the inside either. Let me get to that part in a minute. So build 3 of the faces. This face is solid. This face is solid except for the center. This face is solid except for the center. This face is also solid except for the center. Okay, so now you put in the centers, you put a layer of thermal insulation core, and then like this shape of thermal insulation core. So the reason you need that is because you put 2 pieces of concentration lens there, like in the direction, I mean it can be any side really, but it has to be at least one, well, it has to be only one side. The other 2 sides you have to connect pipes. Again, they don't have to be ReactorCraft pipes, but that's the only thing we have right now. Put that into the sides. And in the center we put the actual tile entity like before. Where is it? Hydrogen preheater. That doesn't have a direction, so you just place it any way you want. And then we just put another layer of insulation on top of it, and then another layer of insulation on top of that. 4 more corner pieces. We just realized we've got to put magnetic containment pipes at the top, and yes, it has to go up above the main block. Has some edges, and that's the sign we built it correctly because it all auto-connected. And here we are. We have 1 preheater unit. So if we pump deuterium in one side and tritium in the other, and what you do is over here, we want, it doesn't really need to matter how far away you build it, we're going to build it over here. Line that. Okay, good. Is another industrial coil, because we're going to need a lot of those. If you're doing it creative, obviously you wouldn't have a creative mode coil in survival. And we're going to need the heat ray. The heat ray is, well, it's basically a big laser, right? So it's going to be using that to heat the plasma, or heat the gas into plasma. It's very similar to how the real fusion reactors do it. Anyways, you need about a jet engine's worth of power to do this. It's more power will heat it up faster, less power will heat it up to a lesser temperature. Basically, that central piece, the tile entity, is temperature sensitive, and it will gradually heat up as you put in the power. It does cool, related to how much hotter it is in the environment around it. So, for example, if let's turn off the rain, if it's 100 million degrees, it'll cool faster than if it's only 100,000 degrees. So basically, you have to outdo the cooling and then some, such that you get the temperature to 150 million degrees and keep it there or above. So 67 megawatts power is enough to do that. Less might be. I haven't really tested. Anyway, so we're now got that on, and sure enough, it's working. This thing is in fact transparent to the beam. And I can't break any of these blocks without, destroying the preheater unit, so we're going to have to take it on faith that this is working and heating up. It shouldn't take too long. We might also have power to do another code edit, make it heat up faster magically. But right now, we're going to put down a couple of more reservoirs. Again, we're just going to spawn liquids in creative mode. Reservoirs, we're going to put down. Alright, so I crashed back now, so little bug, don't use the magic wand on a reservoir until it has some liquid in it. Fortunately, it's really easy to fix. It was really easy to fix. Anyways, what we're going to want, not carbon dioxide, chlorine, we're going to want tritium, and we're going to want deuterium. So we're going to put deuterium in this one. Now, normally, deuterium evaporates out because it's lighter than air, so it just escapes. You can put a cover over the reservoir, but since it's going to be a creative mode reservoir, well, it doesn't matter. It's going to be constantly replenishing itself. Normally, though, yeah, you'd need to cover it. Put tritium in this end, Tritium slightly green. That little hissing noise is a sign we melted some pipes. Don't worry about that yet. Yeah, we can see the lava in there. Alright, so that means it's actually making the plasma, which is a good sign. And just, well... Oops, I think I broke the actual... Crap, I broke the heater. Didn't take very long to heat up, though, which is nice. So as we're obviously going to need more charge in the Van de Graaffs, that's okay. Alright. We're going to just put some peat. Okay, the pick block isn't working on the Van de Graaff for some dumb reason. Let's get the actual item out of here. Industrial coil, and we're going to need a lever. This will do just fine. And what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing actually. Van de Graaff here. Bevel gear there. Orange to blue. Industrial coil. I put the wrong industrial coil version down. There we go. There we go. So now I've got charge here. So hopefully there won't be any more melting pipes. So, gotta wait for that to get hot enough. It didn't take very long to get hot enough, so that's good. While we wait for that, I'm actually gonna disconnect this. You'll be able to tell once there's liquid in these pipes or plasma in these pipes. So I'm also gonna up the power here. Yeah, this is consuming some ridiculous amount of power now. 4.2 gigawatts of power. It's still less than this thing actually puts out, but you'd never want to try to use this just to heat up that quick. Well, maybe if you just want to turn it on and then scale it back down. Anyways, so we've got preheater set up now. We're going to move on to actually using all the steam that's going to get produced in these boilers. We'll do that over here because why not? So let's lay down some steam lines. And we're going to build a little... You can run a whole lot of different turbines off of this. I'm not going to build all 40 or 50, whatever turbines you can run off of this thing. I'm only going to put down 1 or 2. We'll see. But it's the same process everywhere. It's really straightforward. And okay. And it's going to 9 again, so let's fix that. Put down some turbine blocks. We're also going to want some condensers. Actually, no, we don't have thermal expansion, so we can't pipe liquids out of the condensers. Well, some other kind of liquid pipe. I gotta get them working with the ReactorCraft liquid pipes. For now, though, what we'll actually do is we'll trap the steam. So, steam will rise. We're gonna put the steam grate here in a minute. Let's just get it in our inventory. It'll rise into the turbine, move through the turbine, spin it up, generate power. So we'll put a dynamometer on the end of this. And we're just going to trap the steam over here. That'll actually trap it in this space here, and the steam will basically be deleted. We're basically making use of slight unintended behavior, but it's not really a big deal because, well, the steam's useless anyway. Well, you can recondense it, I guess, but... Anyways, so that's ready to go. Down a steam grate. Of course, it isn't generating any steam yet because there's no fusion plasma in here yet. I don't know how hot that thing is getting. I actually might be able to break this without breaking the multi-block. Yeah, the rest of the multi-block's still... Whoa! And that's what happens if a Van de Graaff gets too much charge. That's not that big a deal. It's annoying, but it's not that big a deal. So we've damaged the multi-block, as you can see. It's not that hard to repair, though. is missing over here. For everything else over here, there we go, the multi-block's been repaired, and look, we've got fusion plasma. That's convenient timing. Or actually decidedly inconvenient timing. But, oh well, it's not that big a deal. Let's let the fusion plasma spread, hopefully none of these pipes melt. Alright, okay, so we're producing plasma now. This won't produce too much plasma, but we'll just hook it up. And there we go. We've got plasma going into the actual reactor. And that's a sign that one of these magnets is not hooked up correctly, or one of these magnets isn't working. Perhaps the latter. Alright, so I found the problem. A couple of magnets were turned the wrong way around. And additionally, there's a minor behavioral bug where basically if you place a new toroid down after you've built the solenoid and have it correctly operating, they don't actually realize that the solenoid's there and functional, so they don't work. I'm going to fix that. Anyways, so the magnets are all set up correctly now. You'll notice they are transmitting charge without the extra Van de Graafs here, which all exploded because I got hit by lightning anyway. Won't affect the performance of the actual reactor though, so don't have to worry about that. So we're going to rebuild the solenoid. That's working again. We're going to put this plasma injector back together. And you can see now fusion plasma is going all the way around. And once it starts to get dense enough, those start being fusion events. It's going to take a little while. If you look real closely, sometimes you can see fusion events. They look like these little white sparks. Oh, they're there. You can hear them too. Most of them are going to happen around here because that's where we're injecting the new plasma after all. Obviously it'll be more even if you inject it everywhere. So now you can see this turbine's getting steam. And sure enough, the turbine is spinning. It's already producing 80 megawatts and increasing. So a reactor this size produces about 22, 25 gigawatts optimally. Actually, probably you could produce more. On this setup, it's probably going to produce about 8 gigawatts because we're not giving it very much fusion plasma at all. Ideally, though, you can push this reactor to 20, 30, 40, 50 gigawatts. There's just enough fusion plasma going in because there's no limit to how dense you can build it. Or dense you can pump the plasma in. That said, you know, the worst is going to get on your computer, right? So it's just these fusion plasma things are entities, so once you get enough of them, you're going to have the same effect as if you had 10,000 creepers. But anyway, so this is a complete and functional fusion reactor, not built optimally, but built, well, the way you would build an optimal one. You can see the frame rate drops off a little if you pull the whole thing into render at once. It's usually most of the load on the computers. Anyway, so this is how you build a fusion reactor, and to make it more efficient, you put these in a more efficient path, supply water properly, give it more fusion plasma, build 3 more injectors, build a hell of a lot more turbines, and if you want to be efficient, you also don't destroy your steam, you reclaim it. So anyways, thanks for watching, and let's hope this helps people figure out how to build this.